Away we go with the last men's centre court quarter-final in the white. It's the Brazilian pair of Evandro and Arthur, seeded 6th in the main draw. Take an early look at the ball mark on that first serve, but the ball and the point goes the way of Sweden in the yellow gold tops. David Orman and Jonathan Hellvig, seeded 2, but world ranked 1. And many people's favourites for gold. And that contest between the man who's just hit the ball, Evandro, and the man trying to block him, Jonathan Hellvig, is going to be a fascinating one. Simon Golding with you for this one, alongside me, our volleyball world expert analyst, Denise Austin. And pretty much as we expected to see the game start, Denise, and now here comes the cannon. I'm amazed the crowd didn't give him the big build-up there.
It's always a tough one. You go after Evandro, which Sweden have done. He's in the slightly harder side, but you kind of warm up his arm and he gets going from the service line.
And he's got all the shots. He's not just about raw power, Evandro. He's been around a long time. He's won a lot of tournaments. He's played with a lot of great players. He knows what he's doing.
I mean, he's come in and he's absolutely nailed the one before that, and then he just goes for a gentle line, so then he's mixing it up, which is exactly what you would advocate as a coach going into any match.
Gets a good hand on that. Well recovered though by Hellvig. Arthur in the right place. Good start from Brazil, but Sweden counter. And counter very strongly indeed, and that's what Sweden can bring to the party. And we've not talked a huge amount about their particular tactical approach to the game, but it is something special, Denise. And when we first saw them emerge on the tour, it was a jaw-dropping moment.
I think in the beginning, in their early years, where people were just kind of almost laughing in just like incredulousness as to what Sweden were doing, but they have just rewritten the offensive rulebook for beach volleyball. But what also they do phenomenally well is they have got a different space-time dimension that they operate in. And David Orman, the way he just seems to be able to understand what people are doing, he just dissects every movement that you give, and if you give him a tell, he seems to get on you. And that's also the aspect of their game that is really difficult to go against.
But what we all love is the jump setting and the option ball hits. Let's see if their ball control could be good enough against the Brazilian serve. No, Arthur's missed it.
Just that too long a look to the line. Just by the time he went back to the ball, he wasn't contacting it as high, didn't get his hand on it cleanly enough. And that's something that everyone at every single level, you see the set go up, you take a look through the net, then you go back to the ball. But if you take too long, it does become problematic.
First side switch then. Hellvig and Orman at the moment don't possess a huge serving game, but they'll be trying to make the slight breeze work in their favour. Brazil though get a solid swing away. Any word from the coaches, Denise? You're our direct line to the international coaches around the world.
I've been messaging Rasmus. I was talking to him about what I'm most impressed with the Swedes, and I know they haven't got the big serves. And we'll just come back to that in a second. But what Sweden have got is they drive the offensive lines of their opponents. And they're not going after the big aces because they're so good at defending. They're good at blocking, they're good at digging, so they don't need the aces quite the same. But what they do is they chisel away at certain areas. So what you've got to mark and what you've got to note is what area are they going at and how is Evandro having to attack.
Oh, just like that. Yeah. Bounces it into the crowd.
But even though they didn't get it, and you just got to say, you know, that was a phenomenal attack, yet job done by Brazil, David Orman is going into that zone. So it's gone where he was trying to go to, and he's putting himself almost in harm's way. And as the match goes on, that's where they wear you down.
Frustration for David Orman on that occasion. Big, heavy contact on the tape, and the ball just drops like a stone. And no pictures on the scorecard, so it's an ace for Evandro. Probably not the last in the game. Not if he serves like that. And it's out. Just got away from Sweden, who, as brilliant as they have been since their inclusion on the Beach Pro Tour, they've also had matches, Denise, where teams have blown them away. And if we think about Boermans and De Groot earlier this season, that was an astonishing match. Evandro, the kind of blocker that can maybe get into the game the same way as Boermans did.
Yeah, the thing about playing Sweden and Norway before them, you needed them to drop a level and you to be at your absolute A game to be able to beat them. And right now, what I'm loving about the young Swedes right now, they've taken an early timeout. They've gone into a little bit of a rut, not afraid to take the early timeout, just reset. And the fact that they have got this incredible mind for the game management, slowing it down.
Yes, unless we forget, 22 years of age piece, and you know, to be this good and this mature at that age is incredible.
I mean, they're heading into their first Olympics at this age with such a high seeding coming in at number 2 seeds, having come to their first Olympics. That is a feat in itself. How they manage the target on their back is something that they have done phenomenally well. If you look at their results since they've been playing on the Beach Pro Tour, they've never been in double figures. They've only had 1 9th place finish.
Good timeout.
Simple stuff.
Yeah.
Does exactly what you said on the tin. You know, take a timeout, get the error.
Nice. Oh dear. And Arthur proving that he can hit the ball just as hard as his partner.
And what we used to see with Arthur, he was all kinds of angle, and then when he hit the line, he used to have like the little baby line where he dropped the elbow. What he's now doing with the way he's coming in, he gets kind of a straight approach. He's going on a hard power line as well. So he's now opened up more areas of the court because he's created more diversity in the speed of his power attack.
First test for Hellvig for a while. He passes that with flying colours, but a decent set from his partner, David Ahman.
I mean, this is the setting genius that these 2 young Swedes have, is that little dig set going into the net, the way he creates the shape and just lifts it. And they're so athletic, they've got a big hitting window, so they can stall back and get a big approach still.
Goes for that line roll. Ahman's all over it, and Evandro saves the day. Good counter block.
Oh, it's always nice when your blocker's got your back, when you've just done an easy roll. Ahman offering, going late, but Evandro sensing that Ahman was going for glory. Look at that low, that's lovely. What a, come on partner, I've got your back.
There he goes. Crowd getting into it now. There we go. First circus trick of the day. David Ahman absolutely pumps the option.
And Evandro's trying to nail the hardest serve he can, and all Hellvig does is just go, off you go, partner. He's working hard from the baseline. You go quickly.
Testing shot for Arthur, and he's come up trumps there. He's always chest onto the net, but he's got such a lot of power away from his body.
What I like is he just wasn't going to get sucked into going over line, even though that was space. He's just going to go hard angle, and that's, even though Ahman was there, couldn't control it.
Good change up. Well spotted by Ahman. And Brazil a little unlucky with the way that ball bounced. Good tracking by Evandro, and here's the chance. Brazil take it, and they've applied themselves really well at the start of this match, Denise.
Oh, I love that work from Evandro. In the middle of that, you sense that maybe, is this the second ball? Evandro just paused. He didn't go with Hellvig. He just thought, you know what, if I'm going to go with you, I'm just going to go into a slide jump block. So he just held, and then he formed his block much more effectively in front of the actual attack.
Well, Hellvig hits option as well. Just the David Orman show, and Sweden manufacture a point, but they're being asked some questions here, which we know for a fact Anders Christensen and Razi, their coaches, are more than happy to happen at this level. They want Sweden asked as many difficult questions before Paris as possible. Beautiful.
Such a pleasure to watch. Nothing more to be said, just hit rewind and watch that beautiful hit again.
Nice crowd here in the late afternoon, early evening in Ostrava, and a very knowledgeable crowd too.
Yeah, Czech Republic doing a fantastic job of being part of a big supply chain to the NCAA. We saw some great results in qualification from young players that are playing in universities in the States. They've been really unfortunate for the women's programme. They had a few injuries in this build-up in Paris, so they won't have a women's team. They got knocked out of the Continental Cup, but they have got the world champions, so heading into Paris with the potential, and they love it, absolutely love it.
Yeah, Perisic and Schweiner not able to do a victory lap here in Ostrava, a tournament they've been desperate to win, but knocked out earlier on today. But the Czech crowd very appreciative, and we've got a couple of great crowds coming as well. Before Paris we go to Start, and then we go to Vienna. That'll be more phenomenal atmosphere for the players to play in front of, and a little bit of a tricky issue for coaches and players in terms of how they manage this next month and a half leading into Paris. Good touch from Arthur, good set from the big man, and David Orman spoils the party. Jonathan Hellvig puts the icing on the cake.
I'm picking that the second ball knuckle from Hellvig. Arthur read it, and that's one that he's been getting away with and nobody's been able to pick him up, but he doubled down on it and did it again, but this time he went to the deep line. So Jonathan Hellvig going, okay, you got me there, but have you got this one? And so that was nice play by the Swedish blocker.
There's your line shot that we were talking about, and that's a dimension to Arthur's game that he's managed to bring in.
Yeah, he's really taken on Hellvig here. Hellvig's just narrow on his space. He's not dropping any shapes, not moving in too late, so Arthur's just taking on the space that's open, and so fast.
Over pass. Put away from Evandro, but the net touch given against him.
And
it's no, playing in their space.
Internet referees have slowed it down, and if we get the side review on the camera here, you might see that Evandro is guilty more often than not from the overreach. So although we haven't got the replay here, it's probably the right one. He does get tempted.
He loves a steal, but he's been busted. And resists the temptation for an angry hit.
Yeah. And surprisingly enough here, David Orman coming in with a left-handed flipper instead, a right-handed crossbody flipper instead of the left-handed scoop. So, yeah, you know, I'd like to see a left hand on that one. If I'm being picky.
Never text drunk and don't hit angry. Two good rules of thumb. Oh, this is good stuff. This is good stuff, and Denise, looks like you put a clever bet on here.
I wish I had seriously put some money on it. We precluded from betting. I think I should start.
I definitely shouldn't. Nice. Oh, nice. It's too good.
That's lovely, because at the while the ball's in the air, the physics, the mathematics, the solutions that are being solved are such that David Norman goes, okay, I'll put you under pressure, let's go a bit wider here, so you don't have to sort of get narrow, you can actually extend and give a bit more lift. Very clever.
Shank pass, brilliant. Oh, that is something else from Arthur.
Love it. Love a good rescue. And it's always that thing as a setter, when it's too easy a pass, when it's a perfect pass and all you have to do is walk in, there's actually more pressure upon you to deliver a perfect set. When it's a terrible pass by your partner and they put you in pressure, you're just the hustle and bringing it back. It's actually more fun, and you actually more often than not, you actually do a better set when it's too easy.
4-point lead maintained. Brazil have made a marvellous start to this quarter-final. It's now up to Sweden to show us what they've got in terms of recovery.
This is where Sweden, like the Volleyball Vikings Norway before them, have become what has taken them to the top. They're pushed back. They're thinking towards the end of all games.
It's all good for Brazil, though, at the moment. I talked about Stade and Vienna, Denise. Is it an individual thing for teams? Would you want your teams or yourself, would you want to be playing in those big tournaments leading up to Paris?
I'm going to come back to you tomorrow, Simon, with more of a statistic on that. So that's one of my things I want to definitely look at. What have teams done ahead of previous Olympics? Have they played in them? And did they get the results from Gstaad and Vienna moving into the Olympics? As Evandro brings up a brilliant ace, and I'm talking about stuff for the future.
No, it's all my fault. I dropped you in it. But I shall look forward to hearing about that, Denise, as we look forward to another thunderbolt from Evandro. Not this time, but they've done the damage, Brazil. This is their set to lose now, so they've got to get it over the line, but thoughts will be beginning to turn towards how do we get this done? How do we do this for a second set in a row? Well, Sweden are trying to move Evandro around, but when he's full of energy like this, he's just impossible to play against.
And the beautiful thing about Evandro, as you can see from Arthur's set there, he's very narrowed, hasn't got much option to sort of push him out or move him around or anything, so he just stands it up high. Evandro capitalising on his reach.
Sweden being kept relatively quiet by Brazil. Not too much by way of circus tricks at the moment from the Swedes, and nothing by way of a blocking presence from Jonathan Hellvig, so that'll be an interesting demand for him going into set two.
Both Arthur and Evandro stepping up incredibly well, just delivering to each other on the set. They flip-flop from both Brazilian receivers just to sort of test them out. They haven't found the defence that they're looking for.
Great serve. And doing what a lot of blockers do now, just not bothering to get involved with the jump set. If you want the option, you can have it. Luxury though, have plenty of set points left in the bank for Brazil. Right on the outside of the line, what a risky serve. A couple of set points down.
A really good time to bring up an ace. Jonathan with just 3 aces coming into this as marked by our statisticians.
This for the set. Good dig. Nice work from Sweden, and we got the possibility of a big comeback on our hands here. Brazil realising that, called the timeout.
Challenging serves, and that's what Sweden had been missing against Brazil previously. Just giving it to them a bit too easy, didn't get the touches. Ahman wasn't scooping. He did a few, but not enough. Hellvig definitely kept quiet. This is good now for Sweden, coming back, just reminding Brazil that you cannot cruise to that 21-point mark.
Nice touch between the two teams as they return to court in the heat of battle. Now, how much risk does Hellvig want to take again on this serve? Not as much. Arthur gets a clean pass away. This for the set. And there we go. So there's a lot more work to be done. Brazil know that. But if he'd offered them the first set, they would definitely have taken it. 21-18, really good from Evandro and Arthur. They lead Sweden by a set to 0.
And do you know the most loveliest thing that rang in the finish of that set was a lovely giggly laugh from Evandro after Arthur's put ball to the floor. It's just the joy that these two are having playing together, and that's resonating now, and that becomes daunting if you're Sweden. Not daunting because they're never really that daunted by their opponents, but it becomes a force that Brazil are not capitulating easily. Look at that, 6 errors from Sweden and only 1 from Brazil. That's a huge, big divide between these two at this level.
Aqui, ó, se lembra uma coisa, o jogo virou pra você, tem hora que eu quero que você não puxar para você respirar um pouco mais, porque o jogo sem você tá sacando viagem, tá correndo pra bola, às vezes você dá essa quebrada.
Talked about the Czech women and they were unable to get a team into the Olympics. The Czech men, Sepka and Sedlak, they've had a phenomenal tournament here. Unfortunately, in the Continental Cup, they had an injury and they couldn't play in the earlier round. So the Czech men, the second pairing, did get knocked out and they weren't able to play in that Nations Cup starting next weekend.
Away we go with set number 2. In the yellow-gold vests, it's the Swedish duo battling to stay in the tournament here. David Ahman and Jonathan Hellvig being taken to task by Evandro and Arthur in set 1, and both the Brazilian players contributed plenty of their own skills to taking that first set. But it feels inevitable that Sweden are going to come back into this game and Brazil are going to have to win it in 3. What do you think, Denise?
I don't know, my money was on Brazil. I feel like they've kind of just got a little spell over Sweden right now. I know that they're thinking, I know that they're resilient. But just, Brazil seems to have a little bit of magic. And Evandro coming into this match was serving and blocking some of the best he's ever done.
Well, if they can turn Sweden over, what will excite the Brazilian fans is they also beat the other Vikings, Moll and Sorum of Norway. 2 sets to 0, but lost out to Sherif and Ahmed. And any news on their first opponents, Crew and Gautier Ra of France, Denise, that their bad luck continues to follow them, I think?
Yeah, unfortunately, Yusuf Crew had an injury. Arnaud Gautier ended up doing the principal share of the blocking towards the tail end of the, I can't remember which match it was, but then they forfeited it and had to withdraw. So just good luck in the recovery as they enter into the Nations Cup next week. And hopefully France can get 2 men's teams playing in Paris.
Here's the comeback. Sweden start work early in set 2, 4-1, and the match suddenly feels very different.
I haven't talked much about the depth of the Swedish men's teams, but they are also in that Continental Cup, the second Swedish pair, very young players, but developing a very similar style.
What, in comparison to the veterans, Ahman and Hellvig?
Yeah, exactly.
Good long look at the ball mark, and Brazil have made the start they really did not want to make. They are way down already in set 2. They're going to give Sweden a route into the game. Bit of confidence returns, and next thing you know, Sweden are all over you. Nice. Oh, it's just brilliant. Well, again, Evandro covers his partner.
We talked about the Swedish serving. I know they didn't win that point, but this is where you kind of have to dissect the Swedish defence. They've served Arthur deep into his left-hand corner, and his momentum as such has gone out wide outside of the court. So as he's come in, they've taken away the line, and even though it's a really aggressive swing, David Ahman is just dialed into where he's going.
Arthur next at the line, but Brazil need a big run from Evandro. It's well manufactured, right on the edge of the envelope there, Sweden.
Arthur, a little bit slow to get his feet on the blocks here. He should have been ready for this on-2, but he was a little bit late. You can see he's desperately trying to get his feet to the floor, and he couldn't.
Now, as brilliant as Evandro's serving is, it's quite notable that a lot of his serving runs come when the team is up. So scoreboard is positive, all is good, and he's feeling great. Then he puts big runs together. He needs to do that from down here. Oh, right on cue.
Good script writing, Simon. Fantastic.
It works every so often. The reverse of the commentator's curse. Can he deliver again? He can. Well covered by Hellvig. And out. It's a good run. It's a good pushback, this, from Brazil.
And you've got to look at how hard Evandro had to work after that heavy jump serve, and it's a hurried up offense, and he forced error.
Brilliant. Oh. And the first bit of frustration from Evandro directed towards Arthur. Definitely a change in the way these two have played together, the two Brazilians. It was very much Evandro demanding of Arthur early in their time together. But I feel he's stepped into almost a fatherly role now, and he does a lot more in the partnership. He says to Arthur a lot more that he's going to take care of this and take care of that.
I think as well it's that there's a huge amount of pressure that was placed upon the Brazilians. For the very first time in their Olympic race history, they were able to qualify in their own right through the points scored on the Beach Pro Tour. That said, Renato and Vitor Felipe, they were going to be pressing down on them. We had Pedro and Superboy pushing hard, and you never knew when either of those two teams were going to put in a good run. Evandro and Arthur did the work. They put a lot of tournaments in, got the results they wanted, got themselves into the main draw, and then cemented their place. And once that pressure's gone, it's amazing how much more freedom that you can play with, and the kind of like the nitpicking, the backbiting, that just sort of seems to have evaporated enough. I won't say it's gone completely.
Well, that's not going to please Evandro. Definitely going for the hands there, Arthur, and all that wonderful shot making from set 1 for Brazil has gone out the window at the moment. Sweden being gifted set 2.
Just Sweden turning up their service a notch or two. Not going for the outright aces, but again, it's a little bit faster over the net, a little bit more to the sidelines, a little bit more pushing you back. And that's where you get deconstructed.
Brazilian staff up in the stands. I think we were talking about this a few weeks back, Denise. Brazil travel with a lot of staff, not quite as many as China, but they travel with a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think you've got to have a big shout out to Wallace Ramos, the head coach of these Brazilian pair. He's done a fantastic job of them coming in to Paris, and he's definitely a relatively young coach and and definitely a superstar of his generation. He was a coach of Alison Cerruti and also assistant coach of Qatar heading into the Olympics in Rio. Definitely one of the most talented of his generation.
Well, Brazil grabbed the point, but they're going to need another big run from Evandro at the service line to get them back in. Feels like we're on our way to 3. Lovely. That's just so good.
And Jonathan Hellvig, he hasn't had a bite in terms of getting Evandro to come with the block, so he just got to say, note to self, he's not coming with me, let's go after it, and he has.
Good set. That's a really good set from Arthur. It's never easy when you're falling away from the ball like that.
No, and under pressure, what you've got to do is just peek it, just give it a peek at that moment. And he knows Evandro's just holding back, he's in his peripheral vision, well away from the net, just stand it up. Evandro with one of the biggest hitting windows.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That was a full-blooded jump serve from Evandro, and it's come back with interest.
And again, because Evandro's not biting, Sweden go, go, go on that second one. So they're just exploiting the fact that he hasn't nibbled.
Arthur finds his cross-court rhythm again.
That was good from Arthur. Sweden definitely were pulling off all kinds of shapes there. You could see Ahman going late to the line and just stuck with his hard cross.
Too good from Sweden at the moment. They've got control and they don't look like they're going to give it up. Set 3 is on its way, and I think we're in the waiting room already.
It does feel like it, doesn't it? This is just the depth of this young pair that they might have shown a little bit of frustration earlier on, maybe a year and a half ago, where they might have, you know, got a little bit annoyed at themselves, but now they just self-managed, self-talk, organise themselves. I mean, if you're Rasmus or Andreas Christensen, then you're just going to be going, yeah, they're doing exactly what you would ask. When a team comes out at you, target on your back, you're going to expect everyone to come up guns blazing at you, and they just muted Brazil.
Tremendous look from the sky at the incredible venue we're at, the old ironworks, but also out across this city. It's a big university city, 6 universities, 21 churches, and a rich history in volleyball. They've hosted multiple world and European championship tournaments on the beach and indoors. Nothing doing for Brazil in set 2 at the moment. They lead the match, but they'll know now if they want to win it, they're going to have to produce something pretty special. It's probably going to have to be in the 3rd set.
Nice to see Brazil thinking though, going for the tool, working Hellvig's hands.
That's good work. A very different option look on that one. An insurmountable lead, so Brazil not out of it yet, and we do love a good comeback. That was going out. Luxury of us seeing that from the reverse camera. And it's cost them the point as well, so Brazil trying to get themselves back in with a few testing serves.
And And that is textbook breakdown from challenging serves. Well played, Arthur, and well read as well. That left-hand pokey, Arthur's picked in 2 out of 3 times, so that's good work from him.
Out. Net helps it on its way. And maybe we aren't in the third set waiting room. Sweden just taking their foot on the gas here.
What Brazil are doing quite well, even though Evandro isn't nibbling, and what they did in that instant when we saw from that camera angle, is when they know that Sweden are about to attack, is getting yourself ready so that as David Orman's looking at you and he's sensing what you're doing, if you're not moving, if you're just fronting him and being as big as you can where you find yourself, wherever that might be, then he then feels that potentially you could pounce if he doesn't get it quite right. And that just creates that little bit of indecision, and that's all you can hope for.
I've just been able to see the heavy strapping on the hand of Jonathan Hellvig, something that's been ever present since the injury to that hand at this tournament last season, playing against Benesh and Partain of the USA. Fortunately for Sweden and for this team, he's recovered and back to his best, but you do see those occasional moments when he just looks just a little reticent on the block. We saw that forceful attack from Arthur on the joust a little earlier in this set. Hellvig sometimes cautious in those moments. This is nice work from Brazil. This time Evandro had to go with it because he knew exactly what was coming.
And that's a lovely first ball take by Hellvig, just releasing Ahman, and Ahman just not hesitating, going after it as we have come to look for.
Nice, very nice hit. Evandro just making sure that everybody in the arena knew it was in.
Oh, it's just funny, isn't it? You just think that the referee's going to call something else, and the referee's telling you it's your point, and you're still shouting at them.
Evandro did apologise to Silvandro. Important couple of service runs remain for Evandro in this set. He'll probably get another couple of goes, including this, from the baseline. Well passed. Beautiful ball control from Sweden.
Arthur was there, but as the ball was being hit, you could see him going down, and he wasn't on the blocks ready enough to just get the rebound, and he frustrated himself. Could have had that one.
Nice trickery from Arthur.
Nice as well. Just good hands from Evandro as well. Just hurrying it up enough as you force the Swedish boys to accelerate their defense positions. Have to commit early. Space opens up. It's really simple.
Brazil looking for a bonus point here. Sweden out of system. Have to go to the 3 touches, and again Arthur wondering what could have been. Side out required. If they can do it straight away, Evandro may get a couple of more serves, but I'm afraid that has all become immaterial with the ball smashed out of play. Sweden back in the driving seat.
And that's the big difference between Evandro at the start of this match and Evandro right now. Sweden went for that middle and he just nailed the first few, but then he's a little bit more off the net, hasn't got the angles, and now they've got him under pressure.
Similar dimensions to heavyweight boxer Tyson Fury, and Anthony Joshua often refer to the fact the deeper the fight goes, the tougher it is for them, and you can't get away from that fact with Evandro. He's a unit. And that physical demand for the big players catches up with you. How much can you give on this serve run? Oh, plenty. What a pass. And there's a chance. Not taken. Hellvig comes to the blocking party just in time.
Well played, Jonathan Hellvig, but Evandro, too prescriptive. You've got to think, if you're Arthur at this point, you've got to be letting him know where the space is, because Evandro's got no sight of where Hellvig is.
Oh, good serve. Really good serve. And Evandro gets a dose of his own medicine. Sweden nearly home and dry here in set 2.
This is the dissecting serves that we are seeing from the Swiss.
More
Not
importantly,
big aces. They're not going for the glory, but they definitely take you apart by degrees.
yeah, and they're getting a bit of work out of Evandro. Back end of the second. Just wearing him down. And the option swing is out. Sweden take the set, much to the delight of some fans in the crowd here in Ostrava. And we've got another treat on our hands. It's another tiebreaker. The quarterfinals that just keep giving, Denise.
Oh, it certainly is. I love the third set. The emotional aspect of how people are going to respond to what's going on just really kicks in.
Good start from Brazil, but as is so often the case where the big teams are concerned, Ahman and Hellvig pegging them back and working their way into the game, and so we start almost with a clean slate coming into set 3.
Errors creeping in for Brazil in that second set. I think they only had one error, now they have 11. That's huge. That's a big turnaround. Interesting as well there, Simon, in the coin toss. Usually teams will elect to receive, but Brazil elected to take the end furthest from our screen. So that tells you the wind's swirling, it's definitely got a different change of direction, or the side wind turning into a headwind at the far end. And that is a bit of a difference if you've been following what goes on centre court. Just for those meteorologists out there.
Away we go then. It's the shootout to 15 to decide this last men's quarter-final on centre court. And Sweden start with the circus tricks, the jump set, the big swing, the point. Oh, that sounded like a touch. Nothing doing. Sweden have the point.
Tricky call. I wish we could get the side replay on this one. Evandro genuinely looks like he was so shocked by the net touch call, because there's definitely huge hands off Hellvig.
Tough break for Brazil. Now, does he hit angry this time? No. And might pay the price. Oh, brilliant from Arthur. Great rally. Ahman for the point. Just so clever from Sweden.
And this is where Sweden are dialed in on their defence as well. Ahman just sitting. The speed of his arm has diminished, but the cleverness of the finish here from Ahman. But that T-Rex move by Arthur, you so wanted him to win the rally, pulling off that beautiful defensive play, but not to be.
3-point bounce for Sweden. It's a good start. It's a heavy swing. That ain't coming back. Early serve run would go down well for Brazil. Can Evandro provide it? Not this time. So Side switches on multiples of 5 in the third set, race to 15, and with the breeze just starting to influence the ball a bit. Certainly comes into play, these changes of end. And just some signs that Evandro is feeling it.
This is where, when you consider how you have to go against this Swedish pair, knowing that they're not going to go that hard on the serve, the second ball option for Arthur, you've got to think Evandro's just got to kick it out. He's looking tired, but if he can get his feet there to the dig, then he can go for a hit, then he can definitely deliver a second ball. You've got to have a big change of approach after this time out.
Well, it was a good effort from these two, but it looks like it's a foregone conclusion now, and the Brazilian coach's body language suggests the same. A stroke of the chin and a little thought, I would imagine, Denise, to how do we beat these Swedes?
I can't remember who it was, but one of the players said to me, the only way we're going to beat them is if they don't play well. And I think right now that's not going to happen.
Well, we found their game in time. Yeah, good work. Ahman was hovering, and for once, he's overcooked it. That's quite unusual from David Ahman.
Yeah, just that underhand hit, just a little bit not timed. Maybe a little bit early, potentially. You know, sometimes when you're a bit too quick for your own good, you get this time the run.
Yeah, well patrolled by Arthur. Can he finish? He can. He can. Brazil looking to push back here.
This now goes to your state of mind, because 1 point at a time, if you can just make Sweden have to work hard, then anything can happen. You cannot ever resign yourself.
Oh, good try from Evandro. That was inventive. And there are the Swedish coaches that we've mentioned several times.
Rasmus Johansson getting a lot of the inspiration for how the Swedish boys play. As a player, he spent a lot of time in Australia, and Schloss definitely did the on-2 option a whole heap more than anyone else, and that's where
Next big moment. Again, Evandro not bothering with the jump set. Being encouraged to attack, Brazil getting themselves in an awful pickle there. Well, they'll be hoping that wasn't their chance of the comeback. It was a clear opportunity to score. But Sweden have the point, 7-4 as Hellvig goes to work again. Not been his day at the net. But no surprise when you're facing a man that stands 2 meters and 10. And if he can get out the sand, Evandro is hellish to stop. Not his Saturday best, Jonathan Hellvig, but good enough.
Brazil are trying to ramp it up from the service line, but left it a little bit too late. Speed has diminished in their arms. The angles are just disappearing from them.
Oh, brilliant. That is just clubbed.
Love that. I should talk negatively about what they can and can't do more often.
Super spike, and a big one from Evandro. Well, that should loosen the arm for the next serve. Sweden not out of the trees just yet. It's glorious from Arthur. Oh, but can't follow it.
Oh, it's had so much potential when that ball was dug by Arthur. The thing about these Swedes, though, you release everything you have at them and they just seem to just redirect it the fastest possible way. It can be diminished, but you have to just play at your very highest level. And these boys just know how to get to the next level, while they leave you behind.
Arthur, given the responsibility of attacking again, he's blown another one out. And that might just be it for Sweden. Don't think Brazil can find a way back from here.
I called the USA versus Sweden pool play game, and the USA, the one set where they really closed, 21-19, they wiped off Hellvig's hand, and that's what Brazil have got to do. At the moment, they're trying to go around him, and it's not working.
Good shot. Heavy swing off the hands of Evandro, produces another point from Sweden. Got to be something spectacular from Brazil to get them out of this trouble that they're in. That'll do for the side out, but now is when Brazil have to go to work.
I mean, we've seen Evandro deep into this third set just bring out some absolute hammers on the transitional play, in the side out play. He's definitely got it in there.
Wow, Ahman misses an option. There's a headline for you. Still room for some drama, Denise.
Oh, I hope so. I want it to get a little bit shaky.
Trouble is, Evandro's had to go all the way down to the other end. That can take some of the momentum away. Being shown a line block by Arthur, he hasn't even looked. He's just there to bang it. Oh, it was on. The defence was on. Arthur can't make it. And Sweden get themselves out of trouble.
And that's sometimes the case. You're not expecting it to come at you because you're sort of waiting, you're waiting to run, get the hustle on, and Arthur in position. Missed opportunity.
Side out straight away, a must for Brazil. Option taken, option hit very well by Evandro.
Liking the body language though from Brazil. Just come on, do this, let's figure this one out.
Little pop float. Ahman passes to the net and Hellvig bangs it into the corner. I mean, Brazil just nowhere near that ball.
What is so wonderful about Hellvig there, he sensed the movement of Evandro as he's going up, and he just goes after a space that they haven't got covered. That's incredibly clever here.
Side out here, though, gets Evandro back to the service line one more time. Oh, it's huge. Absolutely huge, and that's Hellvig putting the injured hand in the way of danger there. This is it. Last chance saloon for Brazil if they want to get back in this match, surely. Big hit. Beautifully passed. And that That is just glorious three-touch volleyball.
I mean, the height of that dig and then the confidence that Ahman has to put his hands upon it with a beautiful delivery. That just says all you need to know about how good these young Swedes are.
Plenty of points for a place in the semi-finals for this Swedish pair. Hellvig, it will be to serve. Arthur takes the pass. Can he keep his team in it? Yes, he can. So Arthur goes back to the service line one more time. 2 points to find for Brazil.
Arthur's got to get a dig if they go on this on two. Come on, Arthur, find yourself some floor.
He's going for the topspin jump serve. Puts it into play. Here's the option coming, and Hellvig buries it with ease. You give Sweden a sniff at the match, they'll take it. And they've taken it in 3 sets. David Ahman and Jonathan Hellvig into the semi-finals. Evandro and Arthur out in the quarters here in Ostrava.
A beautiful display.